like that to help better you as an instructor, because when you are learning to become an instructor and then you're learning to become a business owner, two separate hats you're wearing there.
Hi, welcome back to MCore Collective. I'm Ron Jamal. This show shares real stories from real Pilates entrepreneurs with practical ideas for your career as well as business. Today, I'm joined with Vanessa Kelly from Function Pilates in Phoenix. In a decade, she grew from 100 square foot room to multiple studios, launched the international teacher training program, as well as tested a franchise model. We will cover how she started, the practical ideas for customer relationship, as well as content building. Let's get into it. Vanessa, it's my pleasure to have this conversation with you. Before we start, why not you introduce a little for yourself?
Thanks, Roger. I'm located here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm Vanessa Kelly, and I have been in the Phoenix area for the last 13 years, I would say. I have two daughters, 7 and 10, that have been with me along this Pilates journey of building my business the entire time. So that's been pretty fun. But I've had my business for 11 years now, and it wasn't what it looks like right now. I have 3 studios. I have an international teaching training program, but that honestly just took years in the making. And it was really how I started out really small. I started out in a 100 square foot room and built my business from there. And it took a lot of time. It was organic. I basically grew with the business, I would definitely say. But to kind of backpedal before I get ahead of myself with the business part of it, a little bit about how I got into Pilates was really young. I was in my early 20s, and I had just been through a traumatic experience of losing a very close friend of mine. And I was in college. I wasn't really happy with what I was doing in college. So I just ended up, for personal reasons, dropping out of college and just needing to get to use some of that physical energy out, I think we've all kind of been there when we've had some traumatic experiences where we just need to find an outlet somehow. And the gym wasn't going to be for me. I have been to the gym, done weight training, and that's great, but I was looking for something else that connected a little bit more to my body. And I just happened to, from a friend, find out about Pilates, and nevertheless, there was one right down the street from me. I literally could walk to it. So I started with, I started with private sessions, and then I eventually shifted into group classes. Loved it so much. I probably did this for about a year, I want to say. And then I just basically asked my instructor, how do I do this? How do I become an instructor? Where's the school of Pilates? And and that's kind of where I went on a rabbit hole, and I started to investigate, classical versus contemporary, what would be the right fit for me. And then I found the right studio I was living in Las Vegas at the time. And I found the right studio, met with the owner, really just asked all the questions I needed to ask. That's just how my brain works. And there I went. I started in 2009 and became a certified Pilates instructor with BASI, Body Art Science International. And that was the beginning of the journey.
That's fantastic. It's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at that time you probably have other career option to 100% switch to Pilates. What decision-making process? How you made that decision finally?
That is a great question. I do have a story with that too. I was bartending at the time of when I decided to go into Pilates teacher training, and I had been bartending about 5 years at that point. I was over it. I mean, that just wasn't my career path. And in Las Vegas, you're making pretty good money bartending too, but I was just I needed something else. And then I decided to, I was working part-time. I actually was working at a dental office. I quit the bartending, the whole hospitality industry, and I did front desk at the dental office part-time, and then I was teaching part-time. I was married at the time as well, so I wasn't the breadwinner. And so it was okay to, do what I could at that point. But about 2 years later, I did get a divorce, and I went to go work with Lifetime Fitness. in Las Vegas,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I went in full stream ahead. I said, hire me full time. I will do it. And that exploded. I just set the sales like every single month, like to the top, where I became like the
Mhm.
third Pilates instructor in the company to have the highest sales working full time, which basically doesn't go unnoticed. So management right away noticed me. And that's how I basically moved from Las Vegas, got a promotion, had a paid relocation
Right.
over to Tempe, Arizona, and that's where I made that move. Like it's like when you know you want something, you're gonna go all out and do it. I think I can't speak for everyone. Everyone has their own personal drive and personal ambition, but what I can say is you got to take risks. You got to go out there if that's what you want to do, because we don't know what our future self would actually think us, I think, later on, but we don't know
Right.
if we experience it, even though it can be scary. Um, but yeah, so I did work with them for quite a few years. And so I had put in 5 years of actually teaching before I
Hmm.
even went into run my own business and open that. So I don't want to get ahead of myself there either.
Right. So you were very good at client management, right? You like noticed by lifetime management, and later on you decided to start the Pilates studio. So you mentioned that was a humble beginning on your square foot place, and now you grow to multiple studios. You also have your teacher training. I think a lot of people would be very interested to hear how you start from that studio to your second studio, how long it takes, what made you expand.
Yeah, so I started the business in 2014, and I've always had this drive for business. I love it. It's
Right.
just so exciting to me. It gives me a lot of passion. And so I always known that I wanted to have my own studio. I wanted to, and I thought, as a business owner to franchise, like, ooh, that would be like royalties and like, I can help people run their own business that need assistance. And there is some sort of like education process to that, right? Except it's
Right.
mostly run your own business. So I did. In 2020, I basically hired a company to go through the franchising documents with me so I could franchise. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until 2022. So that was a lot of years that
Right.
went by, from 2014 to 2022 when I decided to open up my second studio. And mainly because I wasn't having as much like success from
Hmm.
like potential prospects for the franchising aspect. I was like, I need to know how this feels again to open up my own business so I can relate to these people. And that is what
Right.
actually initiated me to open up my second studio. Um, and it
Right.
was hard. It was hard. It was like I was my
Uh-huh.
own general contractor, and because I was like trying to make the right potential financing choices and stuff like that. So I was cutting out where I could. Um, but it was a really difficult process back in 2022. But I learned so much out of it. But again, that took me years to go into that,
Hmm.
because I thought I was going to franchise and have other people open their business. But in fact, I really didn't even know those steps again. I had to relearn the steps organically. And then it was like literally the next year, 2023, when I opened up my third studio. And that was easy peasy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You mentioned that the particular time frame, right? 2020 or 2021. That actually is the pandemic. A lot of studios or brick model studios at that time, they're actually shrinking. They either close the studio, but you are opening a studio. Besides, you mentioned you have a team that help you to franchise model. So what made you that decision? Even in the pandemic period, you still would like to expand? Is that because of market demand or it's more of your readiness?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I felt like I gained so much wisdom out of that. And not everyone can say that, but I definitely was I was ready. I was ready to make some different choices. And
Right,
I felt like there was this opportunity coming in where people were really targeting down their health and wellness. And I felt like I was in such a great business to be in at that moment. I
right.
was like, okay, I need to, I need to work with this at this point. And And it was, yeah, it was a little scary, just to go into such another storefront, by
Right,
myself too. I mean, again, I'm a single mom, so that was a lot of risk taking. But I just, again, to answer your question, Roger, it was just more of like the readiness. I definitely was ready. I felt like I'd been a business owner for a long time. I was ready for a change, a
hmm,
new challenge, something different,
right,
and to basically take my teacher training program and help these students going through the program and employ them. Like they had other places to
right.
go, other opportunities to go and work at. And I just really took it from people wanting to work on their health. They're like, this is my number one priority, and I'm going to use my investment in myself so that I don't get sick and I can have, a long life.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's since you mentioned the franchise, and obviously you also have the teacher training, which is a very important aspect to scale. Now, we know that you learned from Basay, right? It's very well known, the global teacher training program. You also have your own teacher training program. In the market, there's a lot of teacher training programs. Some are boutique, some are
Mhm.
being run by larger organization. How does your teacher program stand apart from these larger branded programs? What kind of special advantage you give to your community based on your teacher training program?
Yeah. So basically, I started the Function Pilates teacher training program back in the end of 2021 is when I was organizing everything. But I became
Right,
a master trainer with a different organization back in 2017. So
right.
I resigned with them back in 2021 so I can shift into my own program, because
Yeah,
I did think I was going to be franchising at this point, and I wanted my name to
right,
be out there. So it was a blessing in disguise. But any which way, I use a lot of my background of I have a couple different Pilates certifications. I'm also certified as a postural assessment therapist in Egoscue University. So I put together what I knew about so many different international programs out there and boutique programs to really
right,
zone in on customizing a client's workout based off their posture, their personal goals, their injuries, and any type of conditions they have, where it is not expressed enough from what I have already seen at this point, or it's not the message isn't getting across to a lot of these current instructors that we really do need to focus on the client at hand. But that does go back to answering your question about boutique, where it's very specialized to that studio themselves, which is totally fine. What we
right,
teach at Function Pilates is not a choreographed type of method where you can only teach it in Function Pilates. It is a traditional concept that Joseph Pilates, created. So you're learning the foundation,
right,
and my goal is to teach students really on like, let me put the questions into your head on what kind of instructor do you want to be? Because this is a long journey and your answer might change from the day that you step into here to like the day you graduate. And you're like, actually, I don't want to
right,
teach classes. I want to teach private classes, or whatever the case may be. But that is really, I think, the relationship I start to develop with students, that connection that I'm like holding
right,
your hands, or at least my staff and my team is holding your hand every step of the way so that you can feel ready to go out there. And it started in person, but now I have which made it international, was the online teacher training course. And it's just gotten so much bigger now. And it's great because we've had people in Korea, in Amsterdam, in
right.
the Virgin Islands,
Wow.
like do all this. So it's really, really cool to connect with some different students all over the world. But yeah, my goal is to just be as honest and to have some sort of source that these students can come back to. And I just want like basically the integrity across the whole platform. Because there's just a
Hmm.
lot of like different perspectives out there from people's opinions. And I'm only doing Pilates if it's classical, or I'm only doing it if it's contemporary, or I'm only doing it because it's the hot body we need, or whatever,
Right.
and I want it to be for everybody because it's a medicine. It's a holistic medicine for ourselves. And they say this a lot, like our body is our car, like we're the engine of it. And so we have to take care of
Mhm.
our bodies, and it's a mind body experience. And I want to continue to establish that mentality into potential students going forward.
Yeah, you especially mentioned you or your team were together work with students or potential teachers, to go through this program. That's really great. Especially you actually got the insights from the studio that you manage, right? So your teacher training definitely a sort of reflective, real class insights that you can incorporate to that teacher training program. That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, they currently running multiple studios. That's definitely very exciting. But we know that the brick and mortar studios actually they involve a lot of operational challenge or operational complexity. One of the most important goal for the studio is to have more client. Whatever it's have the new client or keep the current client. What's the practical strategy that help you keep the member engaged or coming back?
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be here through the pandemic if it wasn't because of the community that I already had established at that point. Like,
Uh,
they have been amazing since day one. I still have clients from day one in my 100 square foot room that still come and see
wow.
me at the studio. So it's such a wonderful feeling. But I really think that is the most important thing, is establishing these one-on-one relationships with your clients. It's not about
Mhm.
marketing so much outward. It's about how are you spending your energy inward. Because once they're there, they're
Right.
there. They're lifers. Like, there are clients that
Hmm.
have been with me and they've spent thousands of dollars over the years and things like that. So I do tell my team, yes, there is some challenges. It's like, how do we keep our current clientele engaged? How we need to know about their dog, how is their granddaughter doing, like things like that, where you can build these conversations and spend less time on external marketing. Whereas, like, yes, you
Hmm.
lose clients along the years, but we have such a huge internal database. It's like, let's continue to work with those clients and get them back, because they already loved Pilates at some point. So how can
Right.
we utilize the features in our scheduling platforms and infrastructures and try to do marketing tactics to get them back, like, that sort of thing, and then build those relationships. Like, why did they start Pilates in the first place? What are they
Hmm.
missing in Pilates? How is this going to benefit their bodies and their daily life and things like that? So I like to think of it as, I don't really pay a lot for external marketing. I do a
Hmm.
lot of the teaching and training for my team to work on the internal marketing. And
Right.
I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of Groupon before.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, my business grew off Groupon. I still have Groupon to this day, and I have an
oh
80%
really?
retention rate. Yeah. So if there's any type of marketing I do, I would say that would be my external marketing, because I'm not receiving the full value yet from the clients.
Hmm.
But again, we have such an 80% retention rate with the Groupon that they eventually end up purchasing in the studio. And it's great because, there's not a lot of Groupons out there for Pilates studios that's equipment based, because a lot of those
Yeah.
studios, they don't want to give up their time, because it is valuable, obviously. But I really think that people don't want to invest in something so expensive when they don't understand the value of it yet. So we have
Hmm.
to kind of open the doors that way a little bit.
Right. I think you mentioned a very down to earth, tactical way to get the potential client, come into the studio. And in a way, they feel it's a bargain. That's definitely, I think it's very helpful because some studios may feel, okay, I have been trained for a long time. I need to realize my value by teaching the client. But I think you're saying is perfectly right because if people don't have the opportunity to try that, they will miss that, right? And as a
Yeah.
studio, they could also miss that potential client. I think a lot of studios currently are using the class pass would be a very similar way to attract the client. Currently in the market, there's a lot of people, either they consider to become a Pilates teacher, or they were thinking gonna open a studio. I will break this to two questions. First is, for a new Pilates teacher, what kind of advice you would give to them?
I would definitely say if that is what your gut is telling you to do, just go for it because there is no right time. A lot of people will, it's either the timing or it's finances, right? And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously with finances, that's a little harder, but like if it's like fear of, well, I don't know, like I have to get in shape to become a Pilates instructor, or I don't know if I have like the, you know, if I'm brave enough to be talking in front of all those people, like you learn
Mm-hmm.
that. You learn that in the
Right.
program. And there is no correct body to become a Pilates instructor. That is not what we train our students. We train our students on like, do you understand the exercise? Is it safely taught, effectively taught? Because this is not about your workout. This is about the client's workout. So
Yeah.
I always think like, if there's a desire and this like intuitive feeling, like I really want to do this, I can see myself doing this, you learn everything in the program like on how to create that new mindset. And because there's so much like hands-on like training and like you're practicing and stuff like that, you just kind of like grow with it too. It doesn't become so
Yeah.
foreign anymore. It's like you're learning the language of Pilates. Um, so yeah, if it was financial, that obviously, again, that's a different story. I like to be as accommodating as possible. We have a lot of payment plan options for students because I hate for things like that to come up in between someone who has these hopes and desires where they probably would be an
Mm-hmm.
amazing instructor in service to this industry, whereas like,
Right.
finances are holding them back. And then what was this? The second part of the question was if someone wanted to open up their own studio. I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, I would say teach first for as long as you possibly can until you get that nudge that like, I need to open up my studio. Again, I
Mm-hmm.
taught for 5 years among so many different instructors, and it's so great to hear what other people are saying because you're learning new cues, new tactile cues, no imagery, things like that to help better you as an instructor. Because when you are learning to become an instructor and then you're learning to become a business owner, two separate hats you're wearing there. So you don't want to
Right.
feel overwhelmed by, let me go through the program and then open up a studio on top of that. That's just like, it's
Right.
just too much. So I would definitely say teach for a few years. Then as you gradually go into opening up your own studio, visit as many studios as possible to know what you like,
Mm-hmm.
what you don't like. Do you like a bigger group classroom? Do you want a smaller group classroom? Like, which type of equipment do you like? Things like that,
Yeah.
because it's an investment on the equipment, and don't go cheap. If there's anything, do not go cheap on the equipment because that
Right.
is a huge liability and you don't want to have to go back and like repurchase more equipment at that point. So
Right.
yeah, and honestly, it's like I think every business owner at that point goes through their different what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So I think that's getting a little bit deeper into the conversation, but from just an outside perspective, I would say teach first, then when you get that nudge, go into open, but just definitely make sure you visit as many studios as possible to know exactly what you want so that you don't regret it later.
Yeah, definitely. It's very practical. And especially I'm impressed because you are saying if the student would like to teach, they just need to get started. That's practical advice because some people spend a lot of time actually to consider, right? To making
Mhm.
decision. And like you said, if the person would like to own a studio or start a Pilates studio business, then the first step definitely is to learn the Pilates. Okay, by nature, people would like to open multiple studios, right? And for sure, your business is having the franchise.
Mhm.
And earlier you talked about you started a franchise because you see the potential, and also you already accumulated this foundation to help people. Now, for franchise, there's a larger franchise like Club Pilates. My question is, how Function Pilates stand out comparing to those big brands?
Yeah, well, again, like I was saying too, I decided not to franchise my business. I pulled out all of my anything I had with the franchise agency. So I can't even franchise anymore at this point. But what I am doing, and I didn't really have a passion in it. I actually discovered I didn't have a passion in micromanaging other studio owners, because that's what I'd be doing. You'd be micromanaging to make sure that they're doing it your way, your method. And
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't my passion. My passion is education and teaching. I had to go through that experience. It was a very long and expensive experience. But
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so I went through that, and at the end, I realized that I had outgrown my role as teaching in person as a master trainer. I'd been doing it for 8 years, and just this past year, I decided to basically teach other instructors who are ready, who have been teaching 3+ years and are ready to evolve and grow and how to become a master trainer. And that's what I'm
Right,
focusing on right now. And you could look at it as a franchising model in a sense, but
right.
it's not. It's just basically taking Function Pilates program into your studio wherever you live at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
we could have someone in San Francisco, we can have someone in Orlando, we can have someone in China. It doesn't even matter, because you are learning the program and then you get to evolve and be a master trainer. And now you are like bringing new students, new potential instructors into your studio. And that's the hardest thing to find, honestly, in this industry
Mm-hmm.
is instructors. It's like, where did they all
Right.
go? And so the nice part about having the teacher training program is that you just get a flux of students in all the time, and then you can handpick the ones that are the best fit for your studio. And that, to me, gives me so much more passion and a
Yeah,
spark again, because I'm like, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm still teaching. It's just a different type of
yeah,
instructor. Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Thanks for the transparency. If I frame the question of franchise, actually the franchise basically there's a two sets of skill can be franchised. One is the teaching. One is,
Mhm.
let's say, commercial. The business, what you're saying is later on you decided to focus on the teacher
Mhm.
training part. I think that definitely makes sense because instead of business plus teacher training, now you are focusing on teacher training, which is your energy or your background.
I had to be honest with myself. I was like, at the end of the
Right.
day, am I going to be really happy with what I've accomplished in my life? Like just having other people open up studios, like that didn't sit well with me. But to know that I've actually helped instructors evolve into another version of themselves, that excites me. Like I love that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about like helping other instructors become another version of themselves. And, and having someone to trust and to go, we just started this pilot program this September
Right.
for master trainer. So I just started the program and I'm so excited to get it out there. But I am so excited to see how many people I meet across this whole platform too, all around the world, because there is something for everyone. So I'm not competing with the larger, industries, teacher training programs out there.
Right.
I'm just developing what I know, who's going to be in the circle that this resonates with them. Kind of circling back to what your previous question was in the very beginning, it's like, no, I mean, we stand out because we are going to attract the right people to us that's going to fit well. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I can create a larger teacher training faculty and things like that too, where we all just get it. And it's nice to come together like that.
Yeah, definitely. Back to what you are saying, for the teacher training program, what kind of character you see the potential teacher gonna become a very successful master trainer?
They have to be trainable. And I say this even with
Trainable?
students. Yes, I say
Right.
this with students. If I can't see someone who's trainable, I'm not going to waste my energy into it. Like not like there's an application process. Like not anyone can just become a master trainer, because I
Mm-hmm.
realize like not everyone is the right fit for me either. Like this is a relationship.
Right.
It's a long-term relationship. So I just want to make sure that I'm selecting the right person. So yeah, I want to have an interview process. I want to have an application process. I want to make sure that you have all the right equipment because this is Function Pilates name too. Like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
discriminate the name and let anybody, come in and they can just become a master trainer. It's like, it's an honor to be a master trainer with Function Pilates at this point.
Got it. That's very important. Last question. You already have hundreds, thousands, or thousands of followers. You already build your audience in social media, right? Instagram, YouTube. Your advice, if somebody new as a Pilates teacher to start content, what kind of advice you would give to them?
Yes, I remember exactly when I started YouTube. It was in April of
Right,
2020 because the
right.
studio was shut down. We had the studio shut down for a month. So I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to like, how am I going to maintain the connection with my current clientele, right? Going back to that
Yeah.
community, how I continue these relationships with them. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and learn how to even upload and all of that stuff. But I did hire someone to do all my editing. I started with Matt because that was the easiest
Mm-hmm.
thing. Not everyone had at-home equipment at that time. Now everyone has, I feel like, at-home equipment. But when you start out, you want to do something that's relatable to you. If you don't have a
Right.
studio or equipment, start with Matt, or start with
Mm-hmm.
anything at that point that people at home can easily do. And I did that for a few months, and then I did on a spur of the moment a reformer workout. I was like, I'm just going to go and film a reformer workout and just even see how this goes. Like I was so small at that point, like competing with all the other channels out there. I was like, I don't know. We'll just see. And that video went viral months later. It was
Mm-hmm.
months later. Like I think I filmed it in May of 2020. It wasn't until like November. It was like a full like
Mm-hmm.
6 months that came back. And I was like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, I just had that video just going viral. And that's when I decided this is what people want. This is what I'm going to put my energy into. I just said no to the mat stuff and I started putting all my energy into reformer workouts. And then I did tap into some of the other apparatuses. It's just there's not a larger audience because people were starting to purchase more at-home reformers at that time. That's when people were looking for reformer workouts to do. So I would say start small, organically, don't invest a ton because you don't know if it's going to change later on. I could have
Yeah.
invested in a full platform of like a nice little mat studio and then, oh my God, I changed it because I want to focus on reformer stuff later on. But keep showing up. And again, I was still running my business for what I was doing, but I was posting like once a week. I definitely could
Mm-hmm.
posting more, but it does take a lot of my time to do.
Yeah.
But honestly, that has been an organic growth. We're about 30K subscribers right now on YouTube. And that has been my funnel into this teacher training program. That's where I found so many, or they found me, I guess I should say, and have
Yeah.
inquired about the teacher training program because of the way I teach on the channel. Um, so yeah, I mean, just stay true to like your own personality as well. I think that's really important because don't try to be someone else. Like I showed up as me, like who I am and how I teach in the studio. And that's what I saw the comments. People loved the way I was teaching because I do voiceovers on YouTube. I don't actually use a
Yeah.
microphone while I'm working out because I don't feel like I can get the necessary words out, or even I don't want to be like huffing and puffing like as I'm working out. So
Right.
that was also another thing I realized that came across more professional. So, but there's a lot of things I
Mm-hmm.
learned along the way that I think everybody will learn too when they start their YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. Also, with that channel, I get to know you. I should
Yes,
say
I
thanks
know.
for that social account. Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
It's a very informative. Thank you for that. That's it for today's episode with Vanessa Kelly from Function Pilates. I hope her story give you practical ideas for your career as well as business. I'm Ron Jamal. Thanks for listening, MCore Collective. See you next time.